what they're saying their internal dashboards are tracking versus what Google Ads is tracking is very different. What's funny in this scenario is Google Ads is over tracking compared to what they're tracking, which is usually the other way around. So now why does that lead to issues?
Yeah. Uh-huh. You know who it is. 3 gurus on the mic, no matter where you live. Turning up the volume, ignite the light. Curry cheese and Vegemite. We're bringing you the ads that'll ignite. Tips and tricks to get it right. Every week we take flight.
All right, guys. Today we're going to talk about one of everybody's favorite topics and the importance of it. Just because it's the only idea I had, and Glenn and Colby were so useful with coming up with ideas. We're going to talk about tracking.
Well, before we say that, before we launch into that, Usama, how about we wish everyone a happy new year for 2025?
Happy New Year. Google Ads is going to die.
Episode 1 of 2025. Everyone.
We all still have our jobs by the end of the year.
Yeah, you all survived Black Friday, Cyber Monday at this point.
AI doesn't take over completely. We're all praying for that.
I heard from other people that they heard that ChatGPT or OpenAI thinks they might have AGI this year. Have you heard that, Glenn? You know things about AI.
I love how he's like, Colby's like touching it. It's like,
I was wondering where you're going to go with it.
Oh, don't worry. There's no depth with me.
To give people context, Glenn is our designated AI expert. So every time there's an AI question, it immediately goes to Glenn or topic because he already knows.
For those that have been following the whole AI and AGI discussion.
Explain to me what AGI is first, because I have no clue.
Artificial general intelligence, which basically it's sentient. So the AI is sentient. Now, there was something leaked last week on OpenAI, and Microsoft have determined that AGI will be reached once OpenAI are making $10 billion profit a year. That is serious. That is serious. Not if it passes certain benchmarks or if it passes a Turing test. It's once OpenAI is making $10 billion profit, we're going to say we've got AGI, which indicates to me they've already done it. And there's no way in the world, they've already got it in-house. They've already got it. They're saying that O3 is already, more or less AGI. And no one's going to have access to O3 for a while. However, it looks like the Chinese have already reverse engineered and hacked it. But anyway, that's another story.
Was it O3 or was it the DeepSeek that they?
No, O3.
Oh, damn.
No, so what? Yeah, so DeepSeek came out, which was the Chinese, but there was something released yesterday that they've reverse engineered O3 and how O3 works. So the Chinese looks like they've already reverse engineered or hacked O3. But anyway, let's talk about Usama's topic. We can
his beard and his beard brush that he had out earlier,
and my hobo looking.
Let's talk about some Google Ads stuff. So Usama,
Okay.
You wanted to talk about tracking micro conversions or steps in a funnel.
Yeah, man. One of my favorite topics and one of the issues I'm having, huge issue I'm having with a consulting client right now is tracking. And then the issue with tracking, and it's a service-based business, the issue with tracking and tracking it properly is if you're not tracking properly, you don't know what's working, what isn't working. They have internal dashboards and Google Ads dashboards where they're tracking leads and bookings separately, and none of those numbers line up. So I'm over here playing a blind game with these guys, consulting with them, with not knowing what to do at all. Anyways, that's where the topic came from, in case anybody was wondering. But
so it sounds like there's a disconnect between the data that they're pulling in through their platform and the data that we're pulling in through Google Ads, and those numbers just aren't the same.
They're not adding up.
Okay.
So what they're saying their internal dashboards are tracking versus what Google Ads is tracking is very different. What's funny in this scenario is Google Ads is over tracking compared to what they're tracking, which is usually the other way around. So now why does that lead to issues? Colby. I feel like it should be a shared conversation.
Oh no, I was just trying to stay quiet. Honestly, the fact that Google's over-reporting is odd because I don't hear that. To take a step back though from everything, I might take this conversation back just to give everyone the fundamentals of tracking with a lead generation client. And I think the most important thing you got to do is understand each step and ensure that that is tracked. And wherever it's tracked, it can be recorded from Google Ads. So let's say you have a very simple process of someone fills out a form, then a sales rep gets in touch with them, then the sales rep determines if they want to proceed with them, or maybe they close the deal or whatever. You need all this information to be spat back to Google so Google can eventually make the right decision. I think so many people actually will just stop at the form and just say, yeah, we get a lead, like that's what matters. But if you're just optimizing towards leads, you could be getting so much junk, and that's all the information Google has. So you need to segment off that good information. Now, Usama, try to take me back to what you're talking about, because I might have derailed a little.
Let me build upon what Colby just said, because I just went down a rabbit hole because I was absolutely hating tracking. So we'll go back to the topic, and then we'll go back to my conversation. By the way, these conversations just go the way they go, and we just talk. So if you guys ever want an actual topic to talk about, just let us know, and we'll talk about that. But
I disagree. Don't ever tell me what to do, anyone.
I'll be fired. Anyways, but going back to Colby's point, tracking is extremely important, especially when you're trying to track the different steps of a funnel. If you have multiple stages of funnel, it's always good to track every step of the funnel. That's right. By the way, you guys are all on this screen, and my laptop's here, which is why it's like here. But that's what Colby means. Like, if you have a funnel that has 3 stages, try and track every single stage. And why does that help? Because it shows you the disconnect that's happening. So if you have a lead form to a call, to a close, or to a conversation, to a close, or whatever, that's 4 steps, or maybe 3. Track each step of the funnel, and then you can see where your steps are falling off, and that leads to better value or better bidding, essentially. I
got to add something in there too.
Go ahead.
With lead gen specifically, is you just talked about all the steps, and what happens very often is people aren't tracking their call conversions, because you could have other ways on your website that people can still get in touch with a sales rep and convert, and organic is going to get credit for that. And there's lots of situations where that might happen, but as a Google marketer or any marketer whatsoever, you want to make sure that you have your process dialed, and any way someone might get in touch with you or your sales reps or anything like that should be tracked. We want to be getting our Google or G-Clid transferred over to that. So you need call tracking metrics, call rail, or something like that. You can't be letting people get off your site without doing that, because there's going to be people aren't going to always behave the way you want them. If you have an older audience, they might want to call. Some people might want to do the lead forms. You just want to make sure that all of that's tracked, and then that way you can better optimize your funnel. And then as Usama was kind of talking about the different stages, like from stage 1, 2 to 3, specifically one of the things we really like to look at is the conversion rates between each. And then you can start to dial in and figure out, backing things up. Let's say if it's a Google Ads strategy, if you're optimizing to your last conversion action, you can start looking at what's driving the actual purchases and what the conversion rates are between one step to another, if that makes any sense.
And then going back into that, not only can you identify what the conversion rates are in each step of the funnel, you can figure out which keywords lead to a certain conversion rate at each step of the funnel. So there might be a keyword that gets you better leads, but there might be a different keyword that gets you better calls, and a different keyword that gets you better closes, essentially, right? So those are 3 different scenarios in your campaign that you can just narrow down if you're tracking them individually. I quite frankly like doing that. Like, I'll have all my steps, well, as much as I possibly can in a lead form or in my Google Ads, and then I'll break it down to like the conversion rates like Colby's looking at. Then I'll break it down to even farther to see which leads are coming from my first step by search terms, then second and third. And there might be a very big offset between what's actually converting to a close to what's actually leading to a lead. So there are 2 different scenarios. I feel like we haven't given Glenn a chance.
No, Glenn was about to open his mouth. So Glenn, you've got the floor.
No, I was actually just going to go back to your step, Colby. You're talking about the third step or third conversion. When you're talking about that, you've got, and a client that we've got is you've obviously got different steps in the conversion funnel. You've got the initial lead, then there might be a verified lead, there might be a qualified lead, then a closed lead. So that final step, the final conversion, that's obviously your most valuable lead.
Mhm.
That's what you're referring to, the third lead or the last.
Yeah, yes, sorry, thank you.
Okay, so at what point, now this is the $1 million question, and this is indicative, regardless of where you see or what platform, what forum that you're monitoring questions like this, at what point is enough data to optimize for? So for argument's sake, just say in the last step of your funnel, the closed lead, how many of those closed leads should you need or are you aiming for to optimize, that you can just let that conversion action stand on its own 2 feet and not use any other conversion data?
Like
He's
15.
giving me a softball. You say 50?
15.
Oh, okay. I've heard 30, but I've heard 15.
If it's 15, I like 15 to 20 if I'm running a TCPA or max conversion. But if I'm going to add like conversion values to each step of the funnel, then I usually aim for more data, roughly around like 25 to 30 for the one I want. So if it's booking, then 25 to 30. That's a whole
strategy. So for argument's sake, you had a brand new campaign and you've got no conversion data, and you go, right, I'm optimizing for max conversions or max conversion value, regardless of what campaign time you got. You're waiting for at least 20 conversions until you go, right, now I'm going to start putting in a CPA or a TROAS. That's your figure, 20. So
yeah. But at the same time, if I start getting a bunch of conversions in the early days, like if I start getting like 2-3 a day, then I'll just switch to max conversions. I won't wait, or max conversion value, depending on whatever I'm doing or the approach in that. But if if the momentum is there, then I won't wait.
All right. So that's your minimum number of conversions until you decide that you're going to put in a target CPA or TROAS. What are you looking to maintain a certain minimum every month? What's your minimum?
That's what I was looking for with what Usama was saying. My minimum's there. I'll go back and say that, like Usama, if I see that if I'm pacing to look like I'm going to get more than 30 conversions within a given campaign for a month, then I'm more comfortable to put a TCPA on it. Honestly, I think if it's conversion value or TROAS, I think you can get away with less conversions. I think it's more dicey. But for TCPA, if you get 30 or less conversions and put a TCPA on it, your campaign usually will die out. So 30, that's my number when it comes to lead gen.
I'm going to throw a curveball at you guys as well with 30. Kobe's like, no. What I've seen and what I've tested, and it's kind of worked out in my favor. Let me look at my watch. Is that if you go into your search campaigns and the keywords that you're getting conversions they're like very spread out and they're not like focused into something very specific. You can have 30 conversions, but if they're spread out too broad and you have like 2 conversions, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, and they're not like relatively close, that campaign will die.
So you're saying you really need to have a certain number of conversions on a particular metric, like a
I'm saying you need a certain number of conversions on a certain theme of keywords in that campaign before you jump the gun and go to an automated bidding strategy.
Okay, so whilst you're saying 30 is a metric, if the keywords or search terms are very broad and spread out,
then don't do it.
Really not enough data. You really need more than 30.
Hit or miss at that point. But if you have a keyword, let's just search. I don't know. Kobe's got a fish in the background, fishing rods, right? And then for some reason you have 5 conversions on fishing rod out of 30, and then there's stuff converting on. What else do we use for fishing, Colby? I don't go fishing.
Lures,
bait. I don't fish, but
sinkers,
some other random stuff. Let's just say, and there's no clear focus on it. It'll take longer for the campaign to succeed, and it might not succeed at all. But if you have a bunch of conversions around like fishing rods, just that general search term or that general search theme, it's going to be easier for that campaign to pick up as well.
And what's your take on building out if you got a search campaign, segmenting all those search themes out into ad groups then, and maybe scaling the ad groups.
I'm okay with that. I like these days, I'm very much liking just small 1-word, 2-word broad matches and just running those with a TC.
I like broad, but I was scared you were going to say you put it all in one ad group and I was going to get angry.
For me, it depends on the industry too. So if it's like a very broad industry, then I'll go down like, I don't know, let's just take supplements. When I was running a account that was doing $1 million a month in the supplement space, they took it in-house. But I had to mention that, like, they took it in-house. I didn't do a shitty job. But the best performing keyword for it was supplement. A single term, supplement, was the best performing keyword for it by far in the search campaign. I did the same thing for a skincare brand, and the best performing search term on there was, I think it was organic makeup and then makeup, 2 terms.
Before we go too far, I think a thing we should say too, with these campaigns, is look at your search term reports, not your keyword reports, your search term reports. Search terms are what you care about. And if you're looking at search terms, you can use a broad match strategy, but you just need to almost treat it like a standard shopping strategy where you're consistently adding negatives. And I find if you consistently add negatives to broad match keyword or ad groups, you will eventually start to make that funnel, and you'll have to add less and less as time goes on. And that's a good way I've found to scale. Now, I'm trying to think about where this question started and how we bring it back to where we were.
How did we end up where we are right now?
Well, we were talking about how many conversions do you need to have till you can start optimizing for a target CPA or a ROAS objective.
Yes. No,
we're talking about tracking. So we opened with tracking, remember? Tracking every step of the funnel.
And then we went to optimizing, blah, blah. But getting back to tracking, if you have multiple steps in the funnel, track as far into the funnel as you can that meet those thresholds.
And here I can add my point is I was talking about that 30 conversion threshold, and maybe think of that less of when, we're talking about when you add smart bidding. When I was talking 30 conversions, that's what you need from that final conversion action that you're optimizing towards. If you, for your campaign, let's just say that when cash leaves hand and goes to your company, if you can't get 30 of those instances with your conversion action, your campaign's not gonna last. And so there's different instances and strategies you'll need to apply to get through there. And once again, this is why we talk about why tracking everything's important, because say you can't get 30 transactions captured, but you can get 30 qualified leads tracked instead. So instead of optimizing towards that final conversion, you're going to go one before. And then, you're going to go to that qualified lead. But you don't want to just be going to your very first interaction. You want to try as a marketer to track everything you can. And that way, if you can't track that purchase transaction, you can get as close as you possibly can without getting there. And that way you'll find something that might have 30 or more. And for grosser instances, you can combine metrics, but we don't really need to get into that now unless we have a bunch of
questions,
people asking us.
Yes. Cool. I think that covers it.
3 experts, 1 mic, and 1 million views, bringing you the news you can really use. From Pakistan to Canada to Aussie land, we connect the world with a master plan. So plug in, subscribe, don't miss the show. Curry, cheese, and Vegemite, let the knowledge flow. Google Ads secrets we unveil and write. Every week we're live, come join the flight.